Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will explain to you about my research proposal entitled the correlation between students' willingness, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation toward their speaking skill at 11th grade students of SMA Negeri 2 Tanjung Pinang. Yeah, the main content of my proposal, as you can see. Chapter 1, there are background of the study, identification of the problem, limitation of the problem, research questions, research purpose, significance of the research, and the definition of the key term. In the chapter 2, there are concept of speaking, concept of willingness to communicate, concept of vocabulary mastery, concept of pronunciation, previous study, conceptual framework, and research hypothesis. And in the chapter 3, research method and design, research setting, population sample and sampling, research instrument, the technique of the data collection, the technique of data analysis, and the research schedule. Now we move to the chapter 1, which is the introduction. Right, background of the study. Even though that English is being one of the compulsory learning subjects at school, the fact that is the most of students do not take it seriously to learn it. The reason is, of course, because they are not used to use the English as much as it is foreign language, especially in speaking, of course. There are some problems, so students do not want to speak or to show their ideas during the class. Those problems are their willingness to communicate, their poor vocabulary mastery, and their poor pronunciation. Now we move to the identification of the problems. I got 5 things that can be identified as the problems of this in my research. The first one is the students tended not to speak or to show their ideas during the class. The second is they did not want to show their willingness to speak or to communicate during the class. The third is the students were still lack of vocabulary. The fourth is the pronunciation. Their pronunciation was far from good. And the last is if they wanted to talk or to show their ideas, they had to think first their words choice and how to pronounce it and how to pronounce those words. Alright, the limitation of the problems. After the five problems that I've mentioned before, me as the researcher limits those problems into 3. There are the students' lack of their willingness to communicate or the willingness to speak or to communicate during the class, their poor vocabulary mastery, and also their poor pronunciation. Now we move to the research questions. My research question is there any correlation between students' willingness to communicate, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation toward speaking skill at 11th grade students of SMA Negeri 2 Tanjung Pinang? Research purpose. My research purpose is to find out whether or not there is a correlation between students' willingness to communicate, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation towards speaking skill at 11th grade students of SMA Negeri 2 Tanjung Pinang. Now we move to the significance of the research or the benefits of the research. Theoretically, for this research can act as a reference for the next studying regarding to the aspect of WTC, or willingness to communicate, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation aspect. Practically, for the teacher, this research will give them information about the contribution and the relation between those three aspects toward student speaking skill. And also for the teacher, can find the ways to improve their teaching process, yeah, to increase the students' willingness to communicate in speaking. And for the students, yeah, they will got the valuable informations about how to improve their speaking skill. Right, move to the definition of key terms. Definition of key terms. The first one is willingness to communicate. Willingness to communicate, for short, is a readiness to enter into a discourse at a particular time with a specific person. The second is vocabulary mastery. Vocabulary mastery refers to the numbers of words someone knows. The third is pronunciation. Pronunciation is the act or result of producing the sound of speech, including articulation, stress, and intonation, often regarding some standard of correctness or acceptability. The last one is speaking. Speaking is the active use of language to express meanings so that other people can make sense of them. Now we move to the chapter 2, which is the review of literature. The first one is concept of speaking. Yeah. The definition of speaking, I quoted three definition of speaking. The first from is Chani in Leong and Ahmadi 2017. The second is Cameron 2001, and the next is Thornbury in 2005. Yeah, so we just move to the conclusion of what are the definition of speaking according to them. So according to those three definitions of speaking, yeah, I can conclude that speaking is an active process of making and sharing meanings of language by using verbal and non-verbal symbols in different contexts so other people can make sense of them. Speaking is also, yeah, a much part of daily life that we take it for granted. Speaking also is a productive skill that cannot be separated from listening. Yeah, when we speak, we produce text and it should be meaningful. Now, the move to the functions of speaking. According to Brown and Yule in Richards 2008, there are three functions of speaking, which are speaking as interaction, speaking as performance, and speaking as transaction. Speaking as interaction means that uh, refers to the interaction which serves as primarily social function. Yeah, as we know that, yeah, when someone meets other, yeah, of course they exchange greetings, engage in small speaking and chit chat, and that's what called speaking as interaction. The next one is speaking as performance, refer to the public speaking, yeah, uh, which is a talk that provides information for the audiences, like speech context, yeah. Speech contest. I mean, sorry. Yeah. Then the examples of speaking as performance is announcements and speeches. Yeah, speaking in, yeah, you know that, as we all know that speaking as performance uh, usually take the form of monologue, right? Yeah, rather than dialogue, of course. Yeah, and the last one is speaking as transaction. Speaking as transaction refers to the situation where the focus is on the message itself, about what it is said or to achieve, or to make people where understood about the message, and understood the message clearly and accurately. Okay, move to the components of speaking. Okay, there are two different experts that state stated the components of speaking. The first one is according to Van der Kevend in Kurniati et al. And in Kurniati 2015. The components of speaking, according to him, are the speaker, the listener, and the utterances. While according to Harris, also in Kurniati et al. 2015, the component of speakings are: the first is comprehension, the second is grammar, the third one is vocabulary, the fourth is pronunciation, and the fifth, the last one is fluency. Now we move to the types of speaking. According to Brown 2003, there are 5 types of speaking. Uh, the first one is imitative speaking. Yeah, you know, like imitative means that you imitate what someone said before. Like, yeah, you imitate, like, yeah, when your child, that your parents or your mother teach you, taught you how to speak. Yeah, they will say, yeah, come on, son, come on, Chan, you repeat after me, repeat my words. That's the imitative speaking. The second is intensive speaking. Yeah, intensive speaking. Yeah, we know that. Before that, the imitative. Yeah, like I said before, imitative means that you imitate what other people say. Yeah, the focus on imitative speaking is on pronunciation. Uh, Although also the grammar is, yeah, considered, also take parts on as the scoring criteria for, for contests perhaps. And while in the intensive speaking, the intensive speaking does not only focus on pronunciation. uh, the main important thing is understanding the meaning, and is needed to respond to certain tasks, but there is little interaction with counterpart. The example of this activity is reading aloud, sentences, and dialogue completion. The third type of speaking is responsive. Responsive, that means, yeah, you respond to what other people say. That if someone asks you, how are you today, how yeah, how's your day, yeah, you should answer it. Yeah, you should respond it, his or her uh, questions, by saying like, yeah, I'm doing fine, I'm great, thank you. Okay, the next one is interactive or dialogue. Yeah, interactive, yeah, as we all know that interactive means that there are two peoples that talk each other. Yeah, they perform this dialogue, this interactive speakings, that, yeah, you like talk, yeah, you talk like something like that. The last one is the extensive or the monologue. Yeah, it means that you just speak up, you just you don't need the listener or the audiences to respond what you're saying or what you're talking about. Okay, now we move to the teaching speaking. According to 2013 curriculum, the focus of teaching English for senior high school in Indonesia is to promote students' communicative competence. Yeah, as we know that 2013 curriculum focus on the students, the, to so the students can actively involve in the teaching and learning process. Yeah. Okay, continue. More specifically, focusing on learners active and interactive learning, in which they will go through some steps, including observing, questioning, associating, experimenting, and networking. Those steps are expected to stimulate students' critical thinking and in turn improve their language skills. Therefore, maximizing individual language use is the main purpose of the language teaching activities in the classroom. Uh, According to Anuradha et al. In Hussain 2017, there are some principles of teaching speaking as follows. The first one is encouraging students to speak right from the first day. The second is tolerate the students if some of them simply repeat what they say. That is, let the learners speak actively with whatever English knowledge they'll have. Fourth, the next one is propose structures, phrases, or words, and let the learners use them in different situations and drill as much as possible. The fifth is organize role play and pair work as much as possible and supervise the learners to correct the active ones and active passive ones. Now we move to the concept of willingness to communicate. The first one is a definition of willingness to communicate. Willingness to communicate, or WTC, was originally developed to describe individual differences in L1 communication. In 1985, McCroskey and Baird gave WTC a little bit specific concept, defined as the intention to initiate communication given the opportunity, taken from McIntyre, Baker, Clement, and Conrad 2001. This concept was further developed in second and foreign language acquisition, which WTC is an idea that students who are willing to communicate in the second or foreign language actively look for chances to communicate, and these learners do communicate in a foreign language. In L2 communication settings, WTC is then defined as readiness to enter into discourse at a particular time with a specific person or persons using a second language or foreign language. McIntyre et al. 1998. Yeah. Now we move to the factors that influencing WTC. In the adaptation of the WTC to the L2 situation, there is a conceptual pyramid model designed to account for individual differences in the decision to initiate L2 communication proposed by McIntyre et al. 1998. Okay, as you can see, okay, this is the pyramid model of the, yeah, we can say the factors that influencing someone's WTC in communication and speaking. Yeah, right. Move beside the other factors that have been proposed by Mackey based on the pyramid model before, the other factors that may affect someone's willingness to communicate in a second or foreign language, taken from Amalia in 2019, there are group size and classroom environment, degree of topic preparation and the classroom organization, familiarity with the topic, the student's cohesiveness, student self-awareness, and familiarity with the interlocutor. Now we move to the concept of vocabulary mastery. The definition of vocabulary, according to Susanti 2001, vocabulary is the total number of words in language. It is also a group of words a person knows, uses in speaking and writing. It means that vocabulary is a total number of words that we use in a language. Every word that we produce to be sentence We call them as vocabulary. Okay, we move to the types of vocabulary. According to Nation 2001, there are two types of vocabulary. The first is receptive vocabulary, and the second is productive vocabulary. As you know, that receptive means that we got from someone, or we listen from something, and the productive means that vocabulary that we know that we use, yeah, in both speaking and writing, like I said before. Right. Also, beside the other two types of vocabulary, uh, according to the Nation, also, the according to him, the vocabulary can be divided into the basis of its frequencies. Its frequency. The first one is high frequency vocabulary. The second is low frequency vocabulary. The high frequency vocabulary means that vocabulary that that for like how many percent that it used in like you can say that in speakings or writings especially. And also low frequency vocabulary is a vocabulary that, yeah, we can say that a little chances, or a little like how many percent that it appears that, like, if high frequency vocabulary means that the words or the vocabulary appears in the 70 and to 100%, and the low frequency vocabulary is the what is that is the different, sorry, and is kebalikannya, something like that. Okay, now we move to the importance of vocabulary. According to Al-Qahtani 2015, vocabulary is an important aspect of learning English and is often seen as critical tool for second language learners because a limited vocabulary in a second language prevents successful communication. Yeah, we know that if in speaking especially, if we are lack, or we have limited vocabulary, means that we are difficult to engage or to do the communications, because if someone, yeah, asks you about this and you want to say the words in English but you don't know uh, the word is, it of course it will be difficult to the speaker that, and the someone is asked, yeah, the speaker itself to engage in to respond what the other speaker said. Yeah, now we move to the what is the vocabulary mastery. Yeah, as we know, mastery means that you master or you know something. But in this case, in the vocabulary mastery means that uh, the numbers of words that someone knows. Yeah. The term of mastery is not limited to simply recognize the meaning of certain words. In other words, it is more precisely defined as to know a word, because the learners are said to have a good vocabulary mastery if they can recognize the meaning, but also to know form, grammar, collocation, meaning, and word formation. From Earth 2012. Like I said before, related to speaking, someone needs a sufficient number of vocabularies to talk with others more favorably and easily. Tarigan 2015 says that the quality of speaking depends on the quality and the number of vocabulary that someone has or knows. In other words, the more vocabulary one has or knows, the better the quality of his or speaking. Means that if you master, if you know um, much more vocabulary in your mind, in your hands, means that if you engage in speaking, if you meet foreign that speak English, speak to you in English, that you can easily uh, respond it or answer it, his or her questions, perhaps. Okay, now we move to the concept of pronunciation. The definition of pronunciation, according to Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, pronunciation is defined as how a language or a particular sound is pronounced, or how a particular person pronounces the words of a language. Yeah, I mean that pronunciation is in my words, that means that a language or words, how to say it, how to pronounce it, something like that. Yeah, factors influencing pronunciation. There are two factors that can be said influence someone's pronunciation. The first one is internal factors, and those internal factors are age, personality, motivation, experiences, cognitions, and students' native language. While the external factors are the curriculum, instruction, culture and status, motivation, and access to native speakers. Uh, the importance of pronunciation. The first one is if a speaker's pronunciation is so weak, this has a poor impact on his or her overall language ability. Bad pronunciation is very hard to listen, and it needs larger effort and awareness on listeners. Bad pronunciations affect misunderstandings, even a breakdown in communication. Yeah, uh, not only in English, but also in many other language. That if your pronunciation is weak, or we can say have bad pronunciation, means that communication, if your pronunciation is weak or bad, your the other speaker may hard to understand the word are what are the words that you say, because you pronounce the word incorrect. So yeah, it's it needs a large effort, and it's much effort to the listeners, the other speakers, to understand what are you saying about. The next one is the importance of pronunciation is, if a speaker has suited pronunciation, listeners judge the speaker's overall language potential much more effectively, even to the factor of tolerating grammatical errors. Is if someone is a good pronunciation, even though that his structures, his sentences are not so good, we can say, the listeners will say, that's okay, that's okay. Yeah, even you the words your sentences is 6 and 7. Yeah, but I can easily understand what are you saying, what what your sentence mean. That's it. Okay, now we move to the previous study. On my research, and there are three previous study that related to the, we can say that related to the my research itself. The first one is by Pratama in 2019. His title is about identifying students' willingness to use English language in boarding school. Study at Darul Ulum Islamic Boarding School in Banda Aceh. The second is by Uzer in 2007. His title is about the correlation between vocabulary mastery and English speaking ability of the 10th grade students of Senior High School 12 Palembang. And the last one is by Si Homing 2014, entitled The Correlation Between Students' Pronunciation Mastery and Their Ability in Speaking. Yeah, if we can say then, yeah, if we want to compare those three previous studies with my studies, of course the first one that if the first thing that we can look is the amount of the variable. Yeah, in my research, the total of variables are 4. There are three x's and one y, or three independent variables and one dependent and one dependent variables, three independent variables. Yeah, the the independent variables are in my studies are the willingness to communicate, the vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation, while the dependent variable is student speaking skill. And also yeah, if we compare to the first study, by Pratama 2019, the first the type of this my research and his research is different. His type of research is qualitative, using an interview to collect the data is by using the interview. So while my research study is quantitative correlational research. And also if we can compare to the second, especially second previous study to my study, the difference is the subject, the sample of the sample of my study and his study is different. My study is the sample of my study is 11th grade students, and while his studies is about his sample is the 10th grade students. And also to the compared to the first to the first to the first study to the first sorry to the third study, the sample is also different. The third study, the sample also was the eighth grade students of junior high school one. My study is about the sample is the 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 11th grade students of senior high school. Now move to the conceptual framework. As you can see, yeah, the conceptual framework, the top of the conceptual framework is students' willingness to communicate. Nah, vocabulary mastery and pronunciation toward speaking skill. Okay, I think we move to the research hypothesis. There are two research hypotheses used in this research. The first one is the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is there is no correlation between students' willingness to communicate, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation toward their speaking skills. While the alternative hypothesis is there is a correlation between students' willingness to communicate, vocabulary mastery, and pronunciation toward their speaking skills. Now we move to the chapter 3, which is the research method. Research design, yeah, as I previously mentioned, for the my my research is a quantitative correlational research with three independent variables and one dependent variables. And the independent variables are willingness to communicate as x1, the second is vocabulary mastery as x2, and the pronunciation as x3, while the y, or the dependent variable, is student speaking skill. The research setting, time of the research is the time of the research. This research will be conducted in this month, June 2020. Place of research is at SMA Negeri 2 Tanjung Pinang, located at Jalan Basuki Rahmat number 3, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, Jalan Basuki Rahmat number 4. Kelurahan Tanjung Ain Sakti, Kecamatan Bukit Bestari, Kota Tanjung Pinang, Provinsi Kepulauan Riau. Population, sample, and sampling. The population of this research is all the 11th grade students of SMA Negeri 2 Tanjung Pinang. The sample is one class, which is the 11 IPA 5, 11th science 5th class. And the sampling used in this research is cluster random. The cluster random means that you choose the sample not when the population is not consists of individuals but consists of a group of individual or clusters. And how can I get the 11 IPA 5 class by using a draw. We know that the cluster random means that you take the sampling randomly by using, like me, by using a drawing systems. And then after the draw of all the 12 class of 12 classes of 11th grade students, I got the 11th science 5 class. That's it. The research instruments, I use two kinds of research instrument. The first is the questionnaire for gaining the information of students' willingness to communicate, and the second is the test for speaking, vocabulary, and pronunciation. The technique of the data collection. The first one is questionnaire. The questionnaire consists of 15 statements that are rated on 5-point Likert scale, ranging that's it, ranging from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The scales are strongly unwilling, rated 1. Unwilling is rated 2. Neither willing nor unwilling, rated 3. Willing is rated 4, and strongly willing, rated 5. Me is I took the questionnaires. I adapt the questionnaire from Khatib and Nurzadeh, 2015. And also by to collect the data while concerning this situation right now, I use the online questionnaire by using Google Form platform. Now The vocabulary test, yeah, also conducted by using a Google Form platform that give a multiple choice test consists of 20 items and has 4 options for each numbers A, B, C, and D. The search for the vocabulary test will be taken from a compilation of both TOEFL and IELTS tests. To calculate the result, there is a formula to use for measuring the test. The formula, as you can see at, at the PowerPoint, score is B per and multiplied by 100. Okay, now for the pronunciation test, the researcher will use a record pronunciation by using a voice note, which give the students a short text and ask them to read aloud and with clear voice. The source of the pronunciation test will be taken from students' English textbook. In the pronunciation test, beside me as a scorer, the scoring will be helped by the English teacher as a second scorer. For scoring the pronunciation test, the researcher used scoring rubric from Jiwandono 2008. Now for the speaking test, the researcher will use record monologue, yeah, same like pronunciation test. Yeah, with minimum time is 2 minutes for each student to record their monologue. To give the score of the speaking test, me as the researcher use the speaking scoring rubric from 2012, and also to calculate the student speaking score, the researcher uses the formula from 2012. Okay, then after getting the student score from all the tests, the researcher will classify them into these categories as follow, taken from Arikunto 2013. Yeah, the range of the scores is from uh, 30 to 39 categorized as fail, 40 to 55 categorized as less, 56 to 65 is categorized as enough, 66 to 79 is categorized as good, 80 to 100 is categorized as very good. Technique of analyzing the data. In this research, I will analyze data by using the normality test, homogeneity test, linearity test, bivariate test to investigating the correlation, multiple correlations, and then the hypothesis test. All of the tests will be calculated by using SPSS 26 software. Now, this is the formula to investigate the strength of the correlation between 3 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. And this table consists of coefficient of correlation up. You can see that the coefficient interval and the correlation level. And also this is the formula to calculate the multiple correlation. Yeah, I think that's all my presentations. Thank you very much for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.